Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests and participants, a very warm welcome to this special side event of CSW69, the 69th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. Here at UN headquarters in New York, today's event stepping up the pace to end FGM, proven solutions, strategic alliances, and empowered movements is hosted and organized by the government of Italy in collaboration with the governments of Burkina Faso, Canada, Djibouti, and Sweden, together with the UNFPA UNICEF joint program on the elimination of female genital mutilation and the Girl Generation Africa-led movement. This is being broadcast live on UN Web TV, so welcome also to everyone joining us online from around the world. My name is Shakuntala Santharan, Shaks for short, and I'm honored to be moderating this important session where we will explore critical ways to end female genital mutilation, to speed up the process to end this violation of human rights. FGM is a global issue. Over 230 million women and girls worldwide have been subjected to this, and every year over 4 million more girls are at risk. It is excruciatingly painful, medically unnecessary, with severe physical and psychological effects. There is absolutely no necessity for this cruelty, this violence against girls and women, and it must stop. To end FGM by 2030 as part of the Sustainable Development Goals, progress must be 27 times faster than it is now. We only have a few years left to hit SDG 5.3, and urgent action is needed. We have to scale up proven solutions, strengthen strategic alliances, and invest in grassroots movements that drive sustainable change. By mobilizing governments, civil society, and communities, we can accelerate progress and secure a future where every girl is free from harm. It is time now to step up the pace because every girl deserves to grow up safe and healthy. So let's use this platform today to identify challenges and opportunities, to increase investments, to boost our efforts to end FGM once and for all. Now, before we dive in, we have simultaneous interpretation for you in English, French, Italian, and Arabic. You can select your language of choice using the touch screen in front of you. Please help spread what you hear today using the hashtag EndFGM on social media. We have a packed program for you. We want to hear from all our wonderful speakers in our short time together and share this conversation. And so we have Beranu over there, who will be holding up time cards and showing you the time you have left to speak. We thank you in advance for keeping to your allocated 3 minutes as closely as you can. We shall soon hear from a survivor of this brutal practice, but first, a moment of care for all the women and girls, for the survivors of FGM who are here with us. Let me give the floor now to Dr. Leila Hussein, who is Global Advocacy Director for the Girl Generation. Leila is also a certified psychotherapist. It's over to you, Leila.
Thank you so much, and yes, good morning and good afternoon, everyone. So yeah, just quick briefing. For us at TGG, it's very important that we ensure people's emotional well-being is taken care of while we have these sessions. So before we begin this discussion, I want to acknowledge that the topic we are addressing are deeply personal and can be difficult to engage with. Conversations about FGM and all forms of gender-based violence can bring up strong emotions, and it's essential that we prioritize our well-being throughout this session. I encourage you all to take care of yourselves. Whatever you need, if at some point you feel overwhelmed, it's okay for you to step outside. And can I ask all the TGG staff to put their hands up? TGG staff, yep. So please, if anything happens, please, if you walk out, one of us will follow you outside. Yes, and I also like to acknowledge my colleague Brenda at the back, will be safeguarding with me at this session. And as you know, CSW has so many events that we need to attend. So at 2 p.m., you'll see me slowly getting out, but Brenda will be taking over from me. If anything comes up, please do not hesitate to approach any of us in this space. Thank you so much, and over back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Leila, for your care and concern. We are grateful to have you with us. And now, here's Ms. Hafsat Abdullahi, a survivor, a writer, and human rights activist from Nigeria, with a special poem on video for us. Let's listen to what she has. And in case you can't hear clearly, you can use your ear shells to listen to the video.
I do not enjoy the pain of my children. I do not enjoy their suffering. In fact, I am not especially fond of their screams. I do not like the blood, the bruise, the wounds. I also do not like it when they throw a fit. But I hate it when they surrender to defeat. I hate the emptiness on their faces when they retire to their little spaces. I swear I can still see the traces of hate and disgust when they meet their unfortunate fate. It haunts me till date. When a girl child is caught, besides the heart, it's like something other than the clit leaves them. Like their souls deserts them. They become shadows of themselves. Antisocial, they keep to themselves. No spark, no glitter, no glow. And they never outgrow the betrayal. But I never dared to question tradition. A tradition that subjects children to sheer degradation. Like my daughters, I am a victim of mutilation. I was not only taught how to receive pain, I was taught how to collect it, endure it, and keep it long enough to inflict it on the next generation. Long before my becoming, these practices have been existing. They have been engraved in stone, engraved in my bones, for this is all I've been shown and all I've come to know. But I hear tales of redemption. I hear stories of liberation. I hear whispers of a people who ask questions. People who challenge conventions to reconstruct traditions. I hear of a people with the grace of liberation. People with the power and the will to bring freedom for women and girls like me who are victims and potential victims to female genital mutilation. And oh, I pray for them. I call for them. I long for them. I want an alliance with them to fight this ignorance, to rid my home of this menace. But I cannot fight this fight on my own. I cannot challenge tradition alone. So this is my SOS. On this race for life, I beg that you run with me. I beg that you fight with me. Radically, urgently, unapologetically. Let us end FGM today. Because tomorrow might be too late. Tomorrow, another girl is subject to this unfortunate fate. So no, we cannot wait. Ending FGM is our shared responsibility, and it is up to each and every one of us to say no more. Let's step up the pace by strengthening alliance to further build the movement to end female genital mutilation today.
Hear, hear. Hafsat, thank you for your moving, thought-provoking, powerful poem and that urgent call to collective action. And now, let's welcome Her Excellency Major Pasawande Pelagie Kabore, who is Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and National Solidarity of Burkina Faso, to give us her opening remarks. Burkina Faso is a leading advocate for the elimination of FGM in Africa and actively champions the achievement of SDG 5.3 by 2030 around the world. Minister Kabore, you have the floor.
Distinguées personnalités, mesdames et messieurs, c'est avec enthousiasme et honneur que je m'exprime au nom du gouvernement et de la délégation du Burkina Faso à l'occasion de cet important événement en marge de la 69e session de la Commission de la condition de la femme. D'entrée, je voudrais adresser mes chaleureuses et cordiales salutations à l'Italie, notre partenaire traditionnel avec qui nous organisons régulièrement un événement entrant dans le cadre des efforts visant à éliminer les mutilations génitales féminines. Je salue également les autres co-organisateurs, à savoir le Canada, la Suède, l'UNFPA, l'UNICEF et l'organisation Girls' Generation. Permettez-moi enfin d'apprécier positivement la présence de chacun des panélistes et de tous les participants dans cette salle ou en ligne. Je souhaite à tous et à toutes bienvenue. Distingués participants, mesdames et messieurs, la thématique des MGF qui nous réunit est une question qui est toujours d'actualité. En effet, la lutte contre les mutilations génitales féminines reste un combat ardu de longue haleine qui nécessite une veille constante de tous les acteurs. Au Burkina Faso, la pratique des MGF perdure encore au sein des communautés et sur la quasi-totalité du territoire. Aussi, pour lutter contre cette pratique néfaste et dégradante, mon pays, avec l'appui de ses partenaires techniques et financiers, a mis en place un dispositif réglementaire et juridique contraignant et dissuasif pour une éradication définitive du phénomène. Dans cette dynamique, des plans stratégiques ont été adoptés, des projets, des programmes et des mécanismes ont été mis en œuvre avec une implication des leaders coutumiers et religieux. Ces initiatives ont abouti à l'engagement public d'abandon de la pratique, l'autonomisation des filles modèles, la tenue des audiences foraines sur le cas des MGF, les patrouilles de sensibilisation et de dissuasion et l'introduction des contenus MGF dans les curricula d'enseignement du primaire, post-primaire et secondaire. Ainsi, la prévalence de l'excision parmi les femmes de 15 à 49 ans est passée de 76% en 2010 à 56% en 2021. Pour les filles de 0 à 14 ans, la prévalence est passée de 13% en 2010 à 9% en 2021. L'engagement du Burkina Faso à faire cesser cette pratique néfaste lui a valu le titre de champion de l'Union africaine pour la promotion de l'abandon des MGF le 11 février 2019. Excellences, mesdames et messieurs, ces acquis sont à saluer, certes, mais les défis qui subsistent interpellent à poursuivre les efforts. C'est dans cette perspective d'atteindre l'objectif de la tolérance zéro au MGF d'ici à l'horizon 2030 que mon pays prévoit l'organisation d'un colloque scientifique qui permettra d'analyser les causes profondes de la persistance de la pratique, de l'excision et de dégager des pistes de solutions durables à ce phénomène. En outre, nous envisageons la réalisation d'une vaste campagne de sensibilisation et d'information sur les possibilités de réparation des séquelles au profit des jeunes et scolaires dans tous les établissements du pays afin de redonner aux victimes leur dignité et de contribuer à leur plein épanouissement. Mesdames et messieurs, je puis vous rassurer de l'engagement du Burkina Faso à poursuivre ses efforts en vue de garantir aux femmes et aux filles leurs droits humains fondamentaux. Les résultats probants enregistrés dans certains pays nous démontrent que cette pratique préjudiciable et profondément enracinée peut être déracinée. Je formule donc le vœu que la solidarité agissante au sein de la communauté internationale soit renforcée pour l'élimination complète des MGF partout dans le monde. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Minister Kabore. Thank you for what Burkina Faso is doing. Up next, Ms. Hanan Suleiman, Deputy Executive Director of Management at UNICEF, the United Nations Children's Fund. Hanan, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. We have all assembled here from different parts of the world with a single determined purpose to eliminate female genital mutilation. We know the severe consequences and the lifelong impact that FGM has on girls and women. With over 230 million girls and women that have undergone this harmful practice, it is imperative for all of us, both here today and beyond, to strengthen our efforts, amplify investments, and scale effective interventions for lasting impact. Alongside government, UNICEF, in partnership with UNFPA and with youth and women-led organizations, donors, and other agencies, is at the forefront of driving multi-sectoral efforts to bring about change. Together, we work closely with those stakeholders, including communities, and in particular communities, to transform the harmful social and gender norms and behaviors that perpetuate the practice. To drive progress, we must continue to apply and scale evidence-based approaches. UNICEF is launching a publication on the evidence-based strategies that work to address FGM. This publication, among others, shows two things. One, community engagement and dialogues with community leaders and members themselves is impactful. It puts communities at the center and fosters collective action and a better understanding of the dynamics between individual and collective attitudes. And individual and collective attitudes can really shape the direction that this practice takes. Studies in Sudan and Egypt indicate that many men, despite social and gender norms favoring FGM, experience personal conflict and regret regarding the practice's negative effects on marital relationships. By bringing these concerns to light, we create a space for dialogue and change. We engage men in discussions about the consequences of FGM to a woman's health, to their psychological well-being and their relationships, as well as fostering collective efficacy within the community to question and challenge traditional gender dynamics and shift norms towards abandoning FGM. Secondly, formative education must be prioritized as an effective tool to address FGM across generations. Notably, UNICEF analysis reveals that girls whose mothers have a primary education are 40% less likely to undergo FGM than those whose mothers have no education. By investing in girls' education, we're not only enhancing immediate chances for girls' access to a better life, but we're also advancing generational change. By combining these key evidence-based strategies, we can ensure that programs are impactful. I urge all partners to focus investment on what we know works and what is impactful to address FGM. Let us use this moment as we gather to assess progress 30 years after Beijing. It is our shared responsibility to ensure that no girl or woman undergoes this harmful practice ever again. Through our joint commitment and unwavering determination, we can and should create a future free from female genital mutilation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Hanan. And now, let's hear from His Excellency Maurizio Massari, Permanent Representative of Italy to the United Nations. Italy is one of the oldest donors supporting the elimination of FGM globally and a strong advocate for the achievement of SDG 5.3. Ambassador Massari, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon. And first of all, let me thank the government of Burkina Faso, the UNFPA UNICEF joint program on the elimination of female genital mutilation, the World Bank and the Girl Generation support to the Africa-led movement to end FGM for their collaboration in organizing this high-level event. Female genital mutilation is not just a violation of human rights, it is an assault on dignity, an unforgivable wound inflicted on millions of women and girls every year. How can we as a global society stand by while women and girls are subjected to this cruel and irreversible practice? We must be clear, there is no justification, cultural, religious, or otherwise for this abuse. The fight against FGM is not just a moral imperative, it is a test of our collective humanity. That is why the Italian government remains steadfast in its commitment to eradicating this practice, both at national and at international stage. With its long-standing commitment to eliminating this harmful practice, Italy is at the forefront of this fight within the framework of our foreign policy and development cooperation. Through our support for multilateral initiatives such as UNFPA UNICEF Joint Program for the Elimination of Female Genital Mutilation. The program is producing important results in partner countries, and last year we doubled our financial commitment, mobilizing €4 million to accelerate these efforts. At the national level, due to a long tradition of civil and legislative commitment, the phenomenon is less widespread compared to many other regions in the world. However, we know that we cannot consider ourselves exempt from it. The presence of communities from countries where FGM remains prevalent requires constant vigilance and effective intervention to prevent it. Through Law number 7 of 2006, our country introduced specific measures to punish those who practice or facilitate female genital mutilation, reaffirming firmly that this violence cannot be tolerated. Furthermore, we are in the process of defining a collaboration with a major Italian university through which an assessment of the phenomenon in Italy will be carried out, and an integrated communication plan will be developed based on differentiated contents, methods, and means for communication campaigns targeting different groups, contents, and distribution channels. We are also convinced that for an even more effective impact of interventions, the role and co-participation of civil society organizations are crucial. Today's event aims to bring us together in a shared reflection on the political and social actions necessary to eliminate this practice. Thank you for your commitment and for being here today as a testament to the will to act together against this form of violence. Italy will not waver, we will not turn away, and we will not rest until every girl everywhere is free from the threat of FGM. I wish you a fruitful side event filled with the insights that can lead to concrete and shared actions. I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Massari. Thank you for Italy's continued commitment to ending FGM, to ending this abuse. And now, over to Ms. Deanna Keita, who is United Nations Assistant Secretary General and Deputy Executive Director for Programs at UNFPA, the United Nations Population Fund, DNA.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Excellency Minister Kabore of Burkina, Excellency Ambassador Massari, Permanent Representative of Italy to the UN, Excellency Assistant Deputy Minister from Canada, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, esteemed colleagues, partners, and friends. It is an honor to join the government of Italy, Canada, Sweden, Burkina Faso, and Djibouti. The UNFPA UNICEF Joint Program on Elimination of Female Genital Mutilation, FGM, and the Girl Generation Africa-led movement in co-hosting today's important exchange. You have heard my sister Anan from UNICEF. Across the world, millions of girls and women carry the painful effect of harmful practice that should never exist, female genital mutilation. Today, 230 million girls and women bear the impact of this violation, with 4 million more at risk every year. These numbers are not just statistics. They represent the lives of our mother, daughters, sisters, and friends. Each life affected is a tragedy, and one is far too many. No more, as we heard in the video, no more. What do we need to do to have community leaders take their responsibilities? No religious commandment, just an harmful practice that takes a young soul out of her body, as said in the powerful video. Grateful to all donor countries investing in well-being of girls worldwide, and grateful to all member states that are working in their own country to change the status quo. We have come together today to raise an urgent call, to unite around a shared vision to end FGM by scaling up what we know works, expanding strategic alliances, and supporting social movement on FGM abandonment to flourish and coalesce into large movement with the potential to bring about change. Eliminating FGM is a priority for the United Nations family that is championed at the highest level. The Deputy Secretary General herself leads the UN task force to address the pushback on FGM, bringing together entities from across the UN system to advance efforts at global, regional, and country level. UNFPA UNICEF Joint Program is our main avenue for connecting local actors to scale proven solutions in their communities, where it matters most. Over the past 16 years, this powerful partnership between UNFPA, UNICEF, government, civil society has driven the largest global program to end FGM. In 2024 alone, 250 grassroots community-based organizations in 18 countries were integrated within the coalition and network working on elimination of FGM. Thank you so much for engagement. It's so critical and important. We know what works. Community dialogues that bring together parents, health workers, religious leaders, paired with media engagement to shift attitude towards greater support for abandonment of this practice. So let's do it. Excellencies, dear friends, we need immediate and decisive action to move this work forward together. Let us remain steadfast in our shared commitment to ensure every girl can fulfill her full potential. I thank you. Gracias.
Thank you, DNA. Thank you all for your persuasive messages, for your leadership. If I could ask you now to please exchange seats with our next round of speakers, I thank you. We are now going to focus on reviewing the progress made to stop FGM, on accelerating the pace and strengthening alliances. Our experts here include Ms. Huda Ahmed Ismail, who is Program Officer for the NGO Women Action for Advocacy and Progress. Please come on up. Dr. Kakenya Nataya, founder and president of Kakenya's Dream. Her Excellency Peace Regis Mutuzo, who is Minister for Gender and Cultural Affairs of Uganda. And Ms. Patricia Pena, Associate Assistant Deputy Minister of Global Affairs, Canada. Thank you, sir. I'll let you all get settled. Is the minister from Uganda with us? Here you go. Over here. Welcome to you all. Thank you for being here. Let's start with you, please, Huda. So you're a dedicated women's rights activist and child's rights advocate. In your experience, how are women empowerment programs contributing to addressing gender-based violence, to advancing women's rights and gender equality for vulnerable girls and women? And in particular, how are survivor-led movements driving progress, shaping progress, especially to end FGM? And what else is needed to strengthen these efforts and ensure lasting change? Huda.
Yes. Hello, everyone, again. So yeah, in general, when it comes to women empowerment, so addressing gender-based violence is the key for us. So first, women need to understand what gender-based violence is, because culturally they think that it's something like normal to be violated. But so now they have to first understand that this is actually a violation of their rights. Advancing women's rights issues, because what we've seen now is in Somaliland, people tend to say now that women are being radicalized. Women are now seeking divorce. Women are, now speaking up. The reason why they're doing this is not because that they are being radicalized, but it's because now they understand what their rights are. They are understanding things now. So in general, that's that. But when it comes to the survivor-led movement, and especially in the context of FGM that we're discussing today, survivor-led movements have been incredibly impactful. Survivors of FGM often become some of the most powerful advocates for change. They can speak from personal experience, providing compelling voice for why FGM should be abolished. These movements often use storytelling, education, and activism to change cultural attitudes, challenge norms, and push for legal reforms. We have actually, last month, we have advocated for the anti-FGM policy, which went through the parliament, and now we're starting to implement it. And that is a huge success for us, working in Somaliland to eradicate FGM. Why is survivor-led movements important and how they can be improved? First of all, they raise awareness. But how do they raise awareness? What they do is, like, if they are empowered, if they are economically stable, they can do a lot of change. So what we do is having them, empowering them through economics so that they can now say no to FGM. If the husband now tries to do this harmful act to the child, the mother is now independent and she can say no. She can, sustain the lives of her children and work for that, yes. So that's how survivor-led movements are working. What we do also is that young girls within schools are now being empowered. They are acting on having these clubs within the schools where they advocate against FGM. They talk about FGM and the harmful impact that it has within the society. So not only focusing on survivor-led, but also focusing on young girls who have not been cut yet. Because what we've seen is that young girls who have not been cut yet are now also facing some sort of stigma, facing that people saying that they are not, pure. So also not focusing on survivors, but also focusing on those girls who are not cut and helping them through that as well. So, yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Huda. Now, Kenya, you yourself are a survivor of FGM. You are the first ever Maasai woman to get a PhD, and you founded, And you founded Kenya's Dream to help educate girls and end harmful traditional practices, including FGM and child marriage. We just heard Huda talking about the importance of survivor-led movements. Also, women-led organizations like Kenya's Dream are crucial in driving efforts to end FGM. We have to recognize and acknowledge this. Please share with us your work, the challenges you face on the ground, and also what are some of the strategies that can be adopted to scale up your work towards FGM abandonment by your community?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon. It's very important to use local women-led movements in ending FGM. It is not overstated. We have to work with women on the grassroots, on the forefront, to really end female genital mutilation. I have seen this through the work that we do in my organization. Real solutions are community-driven and they are holistic. It is right there on the forefront. They have the solutions to end FGM. Also, ending FGM is not just about rescuing and protecting individual girls. It requires transformation of the fabric, the society itself. We have to change the system that have existed for generations. And we must also address the immediate needs. Of course, we have to reach those girls who are at risk of going through FGM. We have to address the issues of those who have already gone through the FGM. So there's a lot of interconnected issues that have been there. But what we know that this practice has really existed for generations, and it's so deeply entrenched in beliefs and the systems that have allowed it to practice for many, many years. We know that FGM, obviously, it's upheld by poverty, gender inequalities, lack of education. It's really it is an interconnected issue. And it's been, it's not just about FGM, it's early marriage, it's dropping off girls from school. It is a lot of issues that are just really need a lot of shifting of communities, attitudes, and advocating for system change, which we have been doing for many years. Education is the most powerful tool, which I really believe and really worked on. It allows girls to stay in school for longer, and it allows the girls that are likely, the girls who go to school are less likely to go through FGM. That's why, we as an organization, we work with really providing high quality education for at-risk girls. But we must know that and education alone is not enough. We have to know that these families have been practicing FGM for generations, so that's what they know. And so we have to go beyond the classrooms. We have to have after-school programming. We have to work with men. We have to work with women. We have to have dialogue across sector. We have to really look at equipping thousands of youths, and I'm really stressing about not just focusing on girls, but really focusing at the entire community. We have seen that it's not an easy work, because when you are working with a very patriarchal society, women are seen as little, as second class. You don't really have anything to say, but that's one challenge. But if we can advocate for many more girls to really make a change, that is how we really come to do this. Sadly, we know that we need to work. It's not just a parent issue. It's not just an elders issue. It's not a religion issue. As I say, that we really have to work with everybody to secure the future of girls. We need to work at economic empowerment and cultural incentives, things that we can actually really work with to ensure that FGM ends. The beyond the thing of job, when we talk about education, we also have to talk about getting jobs for these young women so that they are not just out there without anything to support themselves. We have to focus on, I think for many years, we've looked at large scales, one-size-fits-all intervention as like the way to go forward. But most of the time, those strategies are not taking a unique cultural, social dynamics and cultural dynamics. But when we look at this local-led movements of women at the forefront, we are little, but we are mighty when we all come together to really make change in our society. We need NGOs, we need health providers, we need activists, we need a whole team to move this agenda of FGM. It is no longer a women issue or a girls issue. It is our issue as a society, and we have to work together in every sector to end FGM in our generation. Thank you.
Yes. Kenya, thank you for your inspiration, your motivation. Thank you for sharing some of your vital work with us. Now, according to a recent report by UNICEF, Uganda is one of the few countries on track to ending FGM by 2030. Minister Mutuzo, please share with us, how has Uganda made such progress? What national efforts have worked? What lessons learned? And what more do you think needs to be done to further speed up progress to end FGM?
Thank you so much, Madam Shakutara. Uganda has made several steps. It began in 1978 when His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, a revolutionist, came into power, and he took bold decisions on the fight against FGM. He literally went personally to a few practicing communities, which are only 5 out of 45 communities. FGM in Uganda is practiced in only 5 districts out of 149. So he took personal decision to go there and mobilize, and he looked for all stakeholders, the religious leaders, the cultural leaders, the leaders in the government leadership, and took them through with the medical practitioners to educate them, sensitize them about why FGM, which is perceived to be a cultural practice, should end. And the medical practitioners took through these leaders what women go through. Eventually, a law was put in place in 1995 Constitution, clearly elaborates about human rights, but also singles out FGM to be one of the human right against FGM. And in 2010, we had a law, a Prohibition of Female Genital Mutilation Act, which had very stringent measures that one would not wish to touch any girl, because if you did that, it ranges from life sentence, 10 years imprisonment, to parents. So many people got to fear about it and started doing in the backyard. We were at about 1.6% practice in 1997, 87. When we put the law, it went to 3%. And of late, we are proud to mention that it's going down to 2%, 0.2%. We now have only 0.2%. But this has come because of the commitment of leaders. It has come because of the sensitization of the community. It has come because we have also embedded those who are doing cross-border FGM. We have moved even to those who are doing medicalization, because the practicing communities are only in the neighborhood of Kenya and Sudan, South Sudan. So we have put a task force to ensure that we end FGM, no matter where you are located. Even if you went across the country to do it, when you come back, the law you'd face the law. So with those, we were able to move and make sure that Uganda has hosted also about 15 countries in Africa to discuss about cross-border FGM. So it has been able to reduce, because we do not mimic the words. We speak against it, we are open about it, and we do not criminalize or try to make those who have done it feel bad, ensure that we give them psychosocial support. So survivors of FGM, we have had to put interventions, including the cutters. We registered those who were calling themselves surgeons or cutters. The elder women, try to encourage them to have different ways of income generation, because that was the claim that they were not having income. So we have put them into interventions. We know them by name. We talk to them regularly. We counsel them and ensure that they are changing. So it's about the mindset. Positive masculinity is one of the ways through which we have intervened to ensure that we change the mindset of the cutters. Even the men, now the young boys and girls are being encouraged to speak against it. They are being encouraged to integrate communities of those who were involved. And we have now social media. We now have groups where the boys and girls engage with each other to speak against the norms and practices of FGM. So the interventions we have made have led us to a practice of 0.2%, but we cannot sustain even one person, would not desire to see even one person being cut. So our advocacy continue, and we shall live to see FGM coming to an end. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matuzo, for your leadership and for sharing with us Uganda's path to progress. Now, Canada is one of the countries that strongly supports the vision of eliminating FGM and provides funding for initiatives to end it. Patricia, please tell us about some of your work and your observations on what role donor agencies and partners should play in boosting efforts and strengthening alliances at different levels.
Well, thank you. I'd like to start by thanking my fellow panelists. Your actions are inspiring. Thank you for your efforts, and we know it's hard work. I'm really pleased here to be speaking on behalf of the Government of Canada. This is a long-standing area of commitment for us. We're so pleased to co-sponsor this event alongside Burkina Faso, Djibouti, Italy, Sweden, and Girl Generation. Gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls is at the heart of our international development agenda. It's a decades-long commitment to ending FGM that spans many different governments. This work includes addressing high rates of sexual and gender-based violence experienced by women and girls globally, including female genital mutilation. FGM has a devastating impact on women and girls' health, and the impacts are far-reaching in all facets of their life. And it's not just wrong, but it's also very costly. Treating health complications from FGM costs health systems billions of dollars, and this number is expected to rise if we do not take action. Je vais parler aussi en français. Nous savons qu'environ 400 millions de personnes, soit 2 tiers des populations qui ont des données, souhaitent que cette pratique cesse. Nous sommes en bonne compagnie et ensemble, nous progressons. Mais la baisse de la prévalence des mutilations génitales féminines au cours des 3 dernières décennies a été lente. Pour atteindre l'objectif de développement durable 5,3 et mettre fin à cette pratique, nous devons accélérer nos efforts. Le Canada s'engage à mettre fin aux mutilations génitales féminines et à garantir à chaque personne, partout dans le monde, le droit de prendre des décisions concernant son corps, sa santé, son avenir. Canada is committed to ending FGM and ensuring that everyone, everywhere, has the right to make decisions about their bodies, health, and future. So how are we doing this? Our 10-year commitment on global health and rights, we are investing $1.4 billion annually on global health, but of this, $700 million is specifically dedicated to sexual reproductive health and rights, and that includes our commitments to FGM. We're working with partner countries, many of whom are represented today. And just to give some examples, in Ethiopia, we contributed in a partnership through UNICEF to supporting 1.7 million women and girls, improving their health services to prevent and treat complications related to FGM. And in Somalia, we've been working with Save the Children to empower adolescent girls between the ages of 10 and 19 to claim rights over their bodies. And in Somalia, we support this work on an ongoing basis. We are very pleased to be supporting the program that has our partner, UNICEF, UNFPA joint program on elimination of FGM to work in many areas around the world. So what role do countries and donor agencies like Canada have moving forward? Well, first of all, and to echo the comments of my fellow panelists, we need to put resources in the hands of women's rights organizations, and supporting women's movements locally is very crucial. We recognize the importance of women and girls' meaningful participation in the decisions that affect their bodies and their lives. They are key to ending FGM. Canada's Women Voice and Leadership Program is working with women's rights organizations and tackling to prioritize these issues, including FGM. So in closing, I think we all have a role to play. We are here because we are committed. I also note that there are men in this room. We need more of them. But in doing so together, we can make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. Thank you all for what you are doing to help end this horrific practice. Can I ask you now to please swap seats with our speakers for our next segment? Thank you. We are going to be talking about scaling up effective interventions and enabling movements towards the elimination of FGM. Please join me, Her Excellency Minister Councillor Amal Amar, President of Egypt's National Council for Women. Thank you. Her Excellency, thank you so much. Her Excellency Charlotte Schleiter, who is Ambassador for ECOSOC and Sustainable Development at the Mission of Sweden to the United Nations, and Dr. Jacinta Muteshi, Team Leader for the Girl Generation Support to the Africa-led Movement to End FGM Program, and Fernanda Gallo, President-elect of Zonta International. Please, come on up, ladies. While we wait for everyone to come up and get settled, let's watch this short video on what's working to end FGM.
Female genital mutilation affects over 230 million girls and women worldwide, with around 4 million girls subjected to this harmful practice every year. Coordinated efforts by governments, national and international organizations, civil society groups, and donors have driven significant change toward ending this harmful practice. Research and evaluations from the past decades offer insight into effective strategies to address FGM. Studies show that community mobilization efforts involving influential members like community and religious leaders and health workers can help shift societal attitudes toward FGM. Community dialogues that focus on health and the physical, psychological, and emotional consequences of FGM are vital in bringing about change. Involving the health sector is equally critical. Training healthcare workers can give the necessary support to become advocates for FGM prevention and provide adequate care for survivors. Effective media and social marketing can raise awareness about the dangers of FGM, encouraging discussions and promoting social change. Formal education plays a key role. Evidence shows that girls whose mothers have at least a primary education are 40% less likely to undergo this harmful practice. However, the rise of counter-movements against FGM elimination efforts threatens the gains achieved. Building synergies and enabling strong movements to end FGM is necessary. We must take urgent action by investing in and scaling effective solutions and systems supported by enabling laws and policies. These solutions must complement one another to be most effective. Let us build a future where every girl can live free from FGM in an environment where she can exercise her voice, choice, and agency. Together, let's unite to end FGM.
Yes, let's stop this together. You can get more details on what's working to end FGM in a new report just released by the UNFPA-UNICEF joint program team in collaboration with UNICEF Innocenti. You can get that report on UNICEF's website, unicef.org. And now, over to you, Councillor Amar. Please tell us what Egypt is doing to end female genital mutilation in your country. Can you share with us a few examples of cross-sectoral engagement and examples of activities on the ground that are driving progress?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. المنصة الكريمة. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. المنصة الكريمة، السيدات والسادة الوزيرات والوزراء، الحضور الكريم، أستهل حديثي بالشكر للدعوة الكريمة لهذه الجلسة بقيادة إيطاليا وبوركينا فاسو وجيبوتي والسويد وبالتعاون مع هيئة الأمم المتحدة للطفولة. السيدات والسادة، إن المحرك الأساسي من خلف ما تقوم به مصر من خطوات لمناهضة ختان الإناث هو وجود إرادة سياسية داعمة ومساندة للمرأة ومؤمنة بأهمية تمكينها في المجالات كافة. ويأتي في مقدمتها إطلاق السيد الرئيس عبد الفتاح السيسي رئيس الجمهورية عام 2017 للاستراتيجية الوطنية لتمكين المرأة 2030، وفي إطار أهداف التنمية المستدامة وبما يتماشى مع رؤية مصر 2030. فقد أحرزت مصر إنجازاً كبيراً في القضاء على ختان الإناث، فبالنظر إلى بيانات المسح الصحي للأسرة المصرية عام 21 والصادر عن الجهاز المركزي للتعبئة العامة والإحصاء، والتي أظهرت انخفاض نسبة الختان للإناث للفئة العمرية من 0 إلى 19 من 21% سنة 2014 إلى 14% سنة 22. كذلك انخفضت نسبة المتوقع ختانهن إلى 27% عام 21 مقابل 56% عام 2014. وجاري الآن عقد دراسة أخرى تحت عنوان قياس الأعراف والمعايير الاجتماعية حول ختان الإناث لجمع بيانات أسرية ومؤشرات تساعدنا في تقديم حلول مبنية على الأدلة. كما صدرت عدة تشريعات تعكس الإرادة السياسية القوية الجادة لمصر في محاربتها لتلك الجريمة، وذلك من خلال تعديل بعض أحكام قانون العقوبات التي تتضمن تغليظ العقوبة والتي وصلت إلى جناية، ووضع عقوبات رادعة تصل إلى السجن المشدد، وأيضاً تجريم تطبيب الختان. ولقد أتى كل ذلك بفضل الجهود التي قامت بها اللجنة الوطنية للقضاء على ختان الإناث، وهي برئاسة مشتركة بين المجلس القومي للطفولة والأمومة والمجلس القومي للمرأة، وبمساعدة الشركاء من الوزارات المختصة ومن الجهات الوطنية، وبدعم من الأزهر الشريف والكنيسة المصرية، وأيضاً بالشراكة مع صندوق الأمم المتحدة للسكان وهيئة الأمم المتحدة للطفولة اليونيسف وهيئة الأمم المتحدة للمرأة. السيدات والسادة، وعلى الرغم من الجهود المبذولة إلا أن العادات البالية الخاصة بعفة الفتاة والفهم الخاطئ للدين هو العوامل الأكثر صعوبة في القضاء على جريمة ختان الإناث في العالم بأسره. ولذلك وضعت مصر من خلال اللجنة الوطنية للقضاء على ختان الإناث على عاتقها مسؤولية الدفاع عن النساء والفتيات ضد هذه الجريمة، والعمل على نشر رسائل توعوية مختلفة للتعريف بمشكلات وأضرار ختان الإناث في القرى والنجوع بجميع المحافظات وعلى مختلف وسائل الإعلام. وقد وصل إجمالي التواصل التوعوي والخدمي إلى 108 مليون و600 ألف تواصل، وكذلك إطلاق حملات طرق الأبواب بالمحافظات المختلفة ودوائر الحكي بالمدارس وتدريب القيادات النسائية الدينية من الأزهر والكنيسة المصرية للحديث مع السيدات بالقرى عن خطورة تلك الجريمة، فضلاً عن التعريف بتداعياتها على صحة وحياة الفتيات في المستقبل. كما تم التركيز على رفع الوعي بالقانون بين الآباء، بالإضافة إلى تنظيم قوافل طبية وتثقيفية وحملات إعلامية توعوية واستقبال للشكاوى ورفع كفاءة البناء المؤسسي، حيث تعمل جميعها تحت شعار احميها من الختان. علاوة على جهود أخرى تأتي في إطار المشاركة في التوعية المجتمعية بالقضية، ومنها إنشاء الحاضنة الابتكارية لريادة الأعمال الاجتماعية والمعروفة بالصعيد هوب، والتي تهدف إلى إنشاء مشروعات مبتكرة تتسم بالمسؤولية المجتمعية عبر تبني قضايا مجتمعية مثل القضاء على ختان الإناث. وختاماً، تعد مصر من الدول الرائدة في القضاء على ختان الإناث، حيث انتصرت الإرادة السياسية للمرأة والفتاة المصرية على هذه الممارسة الضارة، وهو ما يعد خطوة هامة لسد الثغرات وغلق الأبواب وتجاوز الإفلات من العقاب، علاوة على وجود توافق بين جميع مؤسسات الدولة حول ضرورة القضاء على هذه الجريمة تنفيذاً للمادة 11 من الدستور المصري بالقضاء على كافة أشكال العنف ضد المرأة، وللاستراتيجية الوطنية لتمكين المرأة 2030، وذلك حتى يتم إعلان مصر دولة خالية من ختان الإناث بحلول 2030. وشكراً لكم.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Ma, for sharing with us Egypt's efforts. Now, Sweden is another key donor supporting the elimination of FGM. Ambassador Schleiter, can you please tell us about Sweden's work in this area and your thoughts on how donor agencies can support the scaling up of effective interventions and enabling movements towards ending female genital mutilation? Ambassador Schleiter.
Thank you, and thank you so much for that task. Well, actually, donor agencies like CEDA can have a very important role in supporting and complementing local ownership to end FGM. And for Sweden, this, of course, emanates from our full commitment to human rights, gender equality, SRHR, and ending harmful practices like FGM. And these values and norms are central also to our development cooperation. And in our work on FGM, our focus has been on local communities where FGM is prevalent, to promote the participation in these communities themselves. And the speakers who have come before me have expressed that much better than I ever could. So what we do is we jack into that work at grassroots level through being strong donors to FGM elimination efforts. Sweden has also funded programs that aim to raise awareness about the harmful effects of FGM And this, of course, includes education campaigns that target both girls and boys, as well as adults, to shift cultural norms and behaviors. Education is a very powerful tool for changing attitudes towards FGM and promoting alternative rites of passage for girls. I would also like to mention that Sweden is a strong supporter of international frameworks that address FGM, and our support goes through UNICEF, UNFPA, and the WHO, and who have each been important for pushing a global response to FGM. And we have been a partner in all this. In fact, since 2018, our support to these joint efforts, the joint UN program on eliminating FGM, has amounted to $74 million in total. So talking about what kind of funding works, I would say both multilateral and bilateral funding is very important in engaging. Bilateral support allows collaboration with government, civil society, local actors, including survivors, towards context-specific interventions, including legal reform, and to drive local ownership of solutions, ensuring that efforts are sustainable. But multilateral initiatives are also very important to support. Those are the initiatives led, for example, by the UN and by the African Union, and that contribute to coordinated global action, shared expertise, and creation of collective accountability. So multilateral support can then help pool resources and promote a unified response to FGM. So let me just say that Sweden will continue to invest in innovative, scalable solutions to end FGM. We will help advocate for stronger policies that protect women and girls, and we will remain a steadfast voice in global forums. And as was already said, invest in what we know works. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador Schleiter, for what Sweden is doing. Now, Jacinta, you're working to significantly reduce FGM in Africa. Survivors with disabilities face unique challenges, don't they, in accessing support services. So with the goal of leaving no one behind, how can we ensure that such services take into account and address the needs of girls and women with disabilities? How do we bring them to the fore? What's your organization doing on this front?
Thank you very much for that introduction. I want to begin by bringing attention again to the theme of this gathering. Our theme is stepping up the pace to end FGM. What that language implies is that we do know what works. We do. We increasingly have evidence, we have data, we know it's about strategic alliances, and we know it's about communities leading change. So we know this. But what remains to be done is to ensure that we are inclusive. And I want to speak a little bit about that. In other words, inclusive interventions for FGM survivors with disabilities. So as we deepen our efforts, what we are beginning to see is that FGM survivors with disabilities face heightened vulnerabilities, including limited access to healthcare and psychosocial support due to physical, communication, and financial barriers. They also face higher risks of stigma, isolation, and abuse, because disability is often misunderstood and can compound discrimination. They also face exclusion from advocacy and policy discussions, meaning their specific needs are often overlooked in program design and implementation. So how do we ensure? So our program, TGG-ALM, seeks to ensure that our interventions are inclusive. And three key ways stand out. The first one is making services fully accessible. What this means is that health, legal, and psychosocial services must be tailored to meet the needs of disabled survivors. This includes physically accessible clinics, sign language, interpreters, and trained service providers. Number two, it's about engaging survivors with disabilities as leaders. And what does this look like? It means nothing about them without them. FGM survivors with disabilities must be active decision makers in shaping policies, programs, and funding priorities. We must also enable disability inclusive initiatives that ensure survivors have the resources to lead their own advocacy efforts. Number three is about strengthening data and research. There is insufficient research on the intersection of FGM and disability. Without data, interventions remain generic and exclusionary. Investing in inclusive methods ensures we understand and address the unique barriers that people with disabilities tend to face. So what can we do also going forward? I want to end by saying we need to create platforms where disabled survivors can share their experiences and drive policy change. We need to collaborate with media, artists, and advocates to challenge stigma and amplify the realities of FGM survivors with disabilities. So ending FGM is about justice, dignity, and the right to live free from harm. We must therefore ensure that all survivors, especially those with disabilities, have access to care, resources, and advocacy platforms they need. At TGG-ALM, we are committed to this cause, working alongside government, civil society, and survivor-led movements to make inclusion the standard, not the exception. If we truly want to accelerate progress, we must broaden our vision, deepen our commitment, and take action that leaves no one behind. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacinta, for you and the Girl Generation's continued efforts. Now, I'm watching the clock. We need to be out of here by 2:45. So Fernanda, very quickly, if we can. Zonta International is a private foundation, and for over 100 years, you've been advocating for gender equality, championing education, and working to end violence against women and girls. Why does Zonta do this work? What is your motivation? And how do you think we can get more engagement from the private sector, from philanthropic organizations to help end FGM, including vital financial support? Fernanda.
Thank you very much for the invitation to share our civil society point of view with you. Zonta's mission in a nutshell excuse me, is to build a better world for women and girls. But this world currently is full of inequalities that remain a global challenge impacting every society, from climate change alone that is expected to push more than 150 million more women and girls into poverty, to the fact that women continue to be underrepresented into leadership, to the fact that 1 in 5 girls worldwide is married before the age of 18, and so on, gender-based violence, child marriage, all these harmful practices like female genital mutilation, that is the focus, obnoxious topic of today, of this session. We remain unequal as women and girls, and too often unrecognized. For 105 years, Zonta International has been advocating and taking action for gender equality. What we do now, we currently lead 2 major annual campaigns, one to combat gender-based violence, including FGM, which is called Zonta Says No, and another, Zonta Says Now, is promoting gender-equal climate action. All these campaigns are held in all our 64 countries where we are present. Our international projects, partnering with UN agencies, have supported women and girls in more than 71 countries. Among these projects, we supported FGM elimination in Burkina Faso for several years, and later we shifted more comprehensively towards ending child marriage, and with partners with UNFPA and UNICEF Global Program. What we've seen throughout these years is firsthand, especially during site visits, is that there is such a deep connection between FGM and child marriage, as both practices are rooted in controlling girls' and women's lives under the guise of tradition and social norms. So we are looking forward very much to an overall joint implementation of both FGM and child marriage programs. You're asking how to increase private sector and philanthropic engagement in this program also. So according to our humble experience, as advocacy at both local and national levels is key to raising awareness and mobilizing action, strategic partnership with civil society organizations can amplify advocacy efforts. Please engage us more. And in terms of communications, impact-driven investors seek measurable results. Storytelling touches the heart of donors. Please, we are looking for both to engage our donors more. In conclusion, unity is our greatest strength, so let's proceed united. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fernanda. Thank you, ladies, for everything that you're doing. Please stay in your seats. We have just 5 minutes left before we have to leave the room. We have time for 2 quick interventions from the floor, and these were requested ahead of time. First up, Ms. Padma Raman, Executive Director of the Office for Women at the Department of the Prime Minister of Australia. Ms. Raman, it's all yours. Very quickly, please, if you can.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak on the critical work we're all engaged in realising the global commitment to end FGM. It's been really uplifting to hear the great work that's been done and inspirational work that's been done. It's important we understand the sheer scale of FGM across the world. In the Indo-Pacific, it is not a distant issue. It's a critical reality in the region requiring more attention. Over 80 million women and girls in the Indo-Pacific have been subjected to FGM. There are cases almost everywhere, from Indonesia to Singapore and Bahrain to Australia, where we still have communities where it remains a concern. I'm pleased to note that Australia's International Gender Equality Strategy was launched in February this year. One of its 5 priorities is to protect and advance women's sexual and reproductive health rights, which encompasses ending FGM. Australia is supporting this collaboration with the UN Population Fund and UNICEF, governments and civil society partners towards this goal in our region and globally. This includes $5 million to help provide technical advice to governments and partners on ways to draw attention to the cost, both human and medical, and the consequences of FGM, as well as accountability to deliver on international commitments in the Indo-Pacific. I might leave it there, just given the time.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, Ms. Raman, for Australia's commitment. Let's hear now very quickly from Mr. Amik Al-Humami, who's the Deputy Minister for Human and Cultural Development of the Ministry of National Development Planning of Indonesia. Sir, you have the floor. Very quickly, if you can. Thank you.
Thank you. I will take this opportunity to assert the position of the Indonesian government in relation to the issue of FGM. Indonesia is committed to accelerating the elimination of FGM. We recognize that FGM is a critical issue affecting the health, dignity, and well-being of Indonesian women and girls. As part of the commitment, we have strengthened our effort through 3 key strategies. First, prioritizing evidence-based policymaking. Since 2021, Indonesia has systematically collected FGM prevalence data through the National Women's Life Experience Survey, providing the most comprehensive national data sets on FGM prevalence in Southeast Asia. The latest 2024 survey indicates a declining trend, establishing us to refine our strategies and further strengthen targeted intervention. Second, reinforcing our legal framework and policies. The integration of FGM eliminating into Indonesia's 2025-2029 National Medium-Term Development Plan ensures it remains a national priority within the broader development frameworks. The implementing regulation of Omnibus Health law mandate education, awareness raising, and intervention to prevent FGM, further institutionalizing prevention initiative. Third, fostering multi-sectoral collaboration among relevant stakeholders. The roadmap and action plan for FGM prevention foster a structured framework for cooperation among government agencies, civil societies, media, and community leaders. We have invested in training and capacity building for healthcare providers to ensure sensitive and appropriate care, addressing both physical and also psychological impact on survivor. We firmly believe that ending FGM requires global collaboration and solidarity. Indonesia remains fully committed to joining the international effort to end FGM, working to ensure that all women and girls can live free from violence. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, sir. Many thanks to all our brilliant speakers for sharing your invaluable experience, your vital work and perspectives with us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, for your passion, your dedication to this crucial cause. Every girl saved matters. Together, let's help generate more of the momentum needed to end FGM everywhere. Thank you. If I could ask all our speakers to stay, we'll go outside and take a group photo, if that's okay. Thank you very much, once again.